All right. Good morning, everybody. First off, happy Friday. It is August 28th, and welcome to another Hi5 edition of the DH podcast. First off, I'm sitting a little weird. I have to sit at an angle at my couch now because my hallway light, well, now it's not doing it at the moment, so I can pan this back. But you'll see that thing start to strobe out real soon, and then I'm just gonna pan back here. So it sucks that I don't get to show off. I'm still terrible at this mirror stuff. Show off Leroy Kelly, but you know what? It happens. All right. Well, we're gonna have a new episode dropping by noon today. So this will be out at about 9:30 in the morning, and you'll get your next full episode of the DH podcast, which you can find on Spotify, you can find on iTunes, any last single place you find and buy podcasts. I wish you could buy podcasts. It'd be great for my bottom dollar. Regardless, we have a ton to talk about, but of course, for these, we're only going to keep it at five quick, calm ones. If you've been following us at least since the summer, or have known about us or know who we are, we're a players first podcast. That's it. The owners and the management continue to show that their main concern is to pay bottom dollar. Now, I can see if they say, hey, all we want to be able to do is we want to be able to pay salaries, and that's it. But the billions and billions that these organizations make throughout the courses of seasons, they can easily do that. So whether it is the NBA, whether it is the MLB, and that's where we have to start off. Number one, the MLB. Rob Manfred showed again why he may very well be right in the gutter. It's he and Goodell are dogfighting to be the worst, and I'm going to move back because my light's better. For worst commissioner in all of sports. Simply put, the Mets GM was caught on a hot mic. This time, a lot better than Thom's hot mic, which still, it's like a week and a half old, 10 days old. Incredibly funny. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. But what we saw here was we saw the Mets GM talking to a colleague and saying, hey, they want us to take the field, then walk off, and then come back and play. And he said they just don't get it. And he was talking about Manfred. But what he ended up having to do was he ended up having to blame the owners, the Wilpons. Now, I don't care. I don't care at all. The Wilpons are not good people either. So for them to get blamed is fine. You can also tell that the Wilpons are not good people because of the statement that they released. They didn't say that we had any conversations with our GM. They decided that they both wanted to misspell his name because we are third graders. Yes, that's right. And you know that they did it on purpose because they have entire press teams, and it's so unnecessary. So if I'm any competent team, see, look at it. This is ridiculous. Happens all the time. And it doesn't matter whether I get a new light bulb. Doesn't matter at all. I'm not an electrician. I don't know how to fix it. It stops. It starts. It happens a couple times a day. It has its moments. It's like a strobe light. I'm in an EDM concert for a little bit during work. Whatever. Again, if you're a competent organization, I mean, we can pick them out of the hat as long as their name isn't the Mets or, even right now the Red Sox are a dumpster fire. So take him. Pick him out. Get him out of there. I know that New York is a huge market, but somebody can actually flourish in a place where their talents can flourish. So if you give somebody like him the opportunity to show growth, you're going to crush it. All right, number two, and also I want to go back, though, to the Mets game. That's exactly what they did. They did exactly that. So we knew that they were staging a publicity stunt, and then they still went ahead with it. And I really don't know how much blame I can put on the players. I really have no idea. I have no idea if they knew that this was a stunt or not. That will come out. But that's a bad look for everybody involved. Sentiment, it just now seems fake of a sentiment. Number two, we've got the NBA players are going to be coming back. So all Game 5s they're not skipped. They've been effectively postponed because what happened in the first game that we saw get and I like a strike better than a boycott, because boycott feels like I'm not buying anything from Amazon, or I'm not buying anything from Apple because they use overseas slave labor to put batteries and stuff. No, I think of it more as a strike because it's a worker that's not working for whatever reason that may be. So the players protested, did not play Game 5. By the letter of the law, the Bucks forfeited game. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. This is so annoying. I hate these people. All right, sorry. My window was open because how dare I want to have some fresh air. But construction work never stops in Columbus. It literally starts at 6:45 every morning, and it makes me just want to empty the chamber right upstairs. So besides the NBA playoffs, what we really found out was that technically the Bucks forfeited. Now, the Magic rejected that forfeit. So they were like, well, we're out too. We'd seen that some NBA clubs were not happy with how quick everything happened. They wanted to be a little bit more involved, a little bit more proactive than waiting until an hour before game time to do anything. I understand both sides. Regardless, it seems that the right types of conversations are happening. Like when you get Bucks leadership, ownership, players on the phone with Wisconsin Attorney General, legal teams, can help flush things out. Regardless, we are now going to be playing Game 5. I don't know when that's taking place. I would assume that this weekend won't be happening because we're going to have continued meetings throughout the weekend. So I would expect Monday or Tuesday for us to see this. So that would be a 5 or 6 day break for these players as well, which isn't the worst thing. But you got teams like the Raptors and Celtics that they were supposed to tip off last night because they had both swept their first round. So they're already done. They've just been sitting around and waiting. So they've had over a week now of downtime. So, and luckily the argument of rest versus rust doesn't come into account because both teams are in the same boat. So number 3, this goes along with it, and I actually have some quotes for this one, that MJ was apparently extremely pivotal in helping out. And I've got, yes. So, and I'm going to read some quotes here, and I will for the next one too. But the owners held a virtual meeting. This stuff's from ESPN as well. But it's important that we take some of the bigger facts from these pages and pages and pages long articles that nobody cares to read but me, and actually bring the facts out. So the owners held a virtual meeting Thursday morning, and MJ, who is the Labor Relations Committee chairman, he was their voice of reasoning, because what he had done first was he went and talked to players, and he wanted to get a little bit more of the players' opinions before coming to the ownership meeting. So he begged the ownership to, quote, right now, listening is better than talking, which is, couldn't be more accurate. So he wants the owners to allow players to express frustrations, concerns. It's a Friday, folks. We are limping into the weekend. He's back. Okay. And he wants them to be able to voice concerns before the ownership immediately steps in and tries to do a blanket fix that may or may not work. A lot of people said that he is the perfect person because not only was he a prolific player, but he's also respected in the ownership room because he has a small market team and still has this large of a voice. So that's the first I've actually ever heard of MJ taking a lead at these meetings. I think it's amazing. Okay. Well, nobody wants to see Stroby McStrobers and especially me, because I live here all the time. So I'm going to turn, and I'm going to move. All right. Okay. So that's number 3. Be watchful, because MJ is going to be a mouthpiece for the ownership now. now that we know that the ownership, this is their best piece of PR they've had in quite a long time, they're going to use it. So they're going to want MJ to be able to speak with players and maybe kind of probe certain things, like if the owners have a plan, if they have an idea, they're going to use it through him to kind of say, all right, well, what do the players think about this? Or at least, what do the superstars think of this? Because in all honesty, that's most likely what they care about. Number 4 is Bill Russell. So we actually talked about this on the podcast, but we've never, what's happening right now with the NBA, we've never seen it in our lives. The last time that we saw it was 1961, I believe it was. So over 50 years ago. And that's where Bill Russell walked out on games. Now, he wasn't the only one, but he was the only, the games did not stop. That's what I mean to say. He walked off. The games did not stop. The Celtics just played without him. And he's made, many articles have been written that he's more than happy to give up basketball for fighting for African-American rights. Makes perfect sense. He's been more vocal about this than many people ever have been. And one story that you may not know about Bill Russell is when it was in the 50s. So Russell moved to a Boston suburb. Obviously, that wasn't taken too well. He was the only black person to be living in that suburb. And so what he would do is he would go on road trips for the Celtics. I mean, it's ridiculous that, people would trash his lawn, destroy it, things like that. And when he would go to the cops, they would just tell him, oh, man, it's just raccoons. Nothing you could do about it. Sorry, man. Sorry about that. Everybody knew it was BS the whole time. So what he did was he asked the police where to get a gun permit. And he said, well, you know what? I'd like to make sure that these raccoons stop tearing up my yard. And then after that, never had it happen again. So not only is Bill Russell a badass that is drag raced with Wilt Chamberlain in Maseratis and Ferraris, that we see that he is not afraid to take a stand. And he has been extremely vocal about how proud he is of the players today. So what we're taking time to do is we're taking time to think. We're taking time to reflect. I mean, if you had seen or listened to our podcast back at the very beginning of June, I think it was June 2nd or June 3rd that it got published, that, we couldn't be more in support of advancing human rights. But for us, we have to take a step back because we've never been in that position. So we have to step back and we have to listen to the people that have been in the position. We have to listen to them, not let it go one ear, one out the other. We actually have to listen, remember it, focus on it, and then allow that to help guide our actions, whether that's protesting, whether that's social media posts, whether that's talking about it on our podcast, whether that's through donations. I mean, there's not just one concrete way to help. And that's what I think is great, is that we have so many different outlets to help. And that's what I love to see. Because I think more often than not, of course, you get on Twitter and you get on Facebook and those cesspools, and of course I'm on it as well. But it's easy to see that we're more united than divided. I mean, most of these things that start Twitter fights are fake bots. It really is. I mean, there's a great tweet like, first name bunch of numbers has a terrible opinion. I'm sorry to hear that. It's if you can weave through the bullshit, we'll get out the other side. All right, everybody. Number 5, as you all know, I always end this on Fridays. Watch some sports. There's still hockey. Baseball is happening. Just go out and watch some sports. It's easy to do. And if the NBA comes back on Sunday, that counts as the weekend as well. So I don't anticipate that, but who knows? We will see. Much smarter people than I are working on that. So, again, this has been a Hi5 series for the DH podcast. Today is August 28th. This is Nick, and we'll see you later on today with a fresh episode. Peace.